Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 22. I'm Tony, and I think I would rather go back to baseball.
Ooh, that's not a good sign. But my name's Jeff, and today, another sport game. We're talking about NFL football.
We sure are.
I think I know your answer, but Tony, would you recommend someone play this game?
No, not even a little bit.
I think I'm a little bit higher than you, but I'm also a no, and we'll get into that. What did Konami, the publisher, say about NFL football?
Oh boy. Okay, this is actually kind of a long one, surprisingly, especially compared to most of the rest of the ones that we've read just recently. So get ready. NFL football, officially licensed product.
Ooh.
Getting your helmet split by a blindsided hit has never been so much fun. NFL football puts the pressure on your shoulder pads to carry both the pro-style offense and defense. When driving for the end zone, you'll call every shot, firing bullets and bombs to your favorite receivers, or run bootlegs, blasting upfield behind snarling, thick-necked blockers. Then, on defense, choose every attack formation and position yourself as a tenacious headbanger, going for the pigskin by blitzing or picking off lame ducks. First downs, four quarters, kickoffs, punts, field goals, extra points, stats, everything's here but the bruises. You can even star on your favorite NFL franchise since all 28 teams are here, ready to replay their rowdy rivalries. So pull down your face mask, tape your fingers, and grind it out on this Game Boy game breaker. Play against the computer, or run the video link option and tackle a friend. I've got to hand it to them. They sure make it sound a lot better than it actually turns out to be.
Yeah, there was a lot of football jargon going on in there, a lot of ramping up the game, I suppose, talking up the game. So, released in April of 1990, by Konami, and it's our first football game, American football, NFL licensed. You have all the teams. Pretty, I think, straightforward as far as that's concerned. Is there anything else that you have before we dive into the mechanics of this one?
No, there's not really a lot about this game, this Game Boy game in particular. The NFL football game title has been booted around on a few different consoles and things. Konami is not the only company to have had the NFL license at this time frame, so it's not the only game of its kind that was around, but it's the first American football game that we get here.
So let's just get into it. Let's talk mechanics.
Oh boy.
If it hasn't been abundantly clear as of now, this is a sports game. The goal is to win a game of American football. So you, on offense, are trying to get the ball to the other side of the field, score a touchdown, kick field goals, all of that fun stuff that was in the back of the box read. So pretty straightforward there. If you know the rules of football, I suppose. Controls, pretty easy as well. Your D-pad moves you around, and menus. A selects what play you're going to use, makes your character dive on defense, and A and B will control where you throw on offense. So there are a few different, I guess, modes that you'll be in, or screens that you have to kind of go through as you're playing. First, you pick what play you're going to run. Then you either play defense or offense, and yeah, you're playing football. Tony, how was your gameplay? Did you play a full game? Did you beat your opponent?
No. I suffered. This was pretty agonizing, and I know that our opinion on some of the rest of the sports games hasn't been the best, but even for someone like me who, cards on the table, I am not an American football fan. Football for when I was younger was marching band. So that tells you probably all you really need to know. Even that, I really tried to go into this game hoping that it would be a fun experience, despite any misgivings I might have about playing an American football game.
Okay. Yeah, I do like football, and maybe that's why I'm a little bit more high on this game than you are. I went into it honestly pretty excited. I was thinking that, it had a good chance of potentially being a game that I enjoyed playing. However, I, same as you, did not get through an entire game. It was a little bit too much. So there are two different types of game modes, I guess. You have normal time, which gives you 15-minute quarters, and then you have short, which is 10-minute quarters. So at the kind of minimum, if you play short, you're looking at around 40-ish minutes for a playthrough of a single game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you play normal, which is what I did the first time because I didn't really know the difference.
Oof.
Yeah, you're looking at, about an hour or so. Definitely a time commitment to get through a game of this.
And that doesn't even seem like that long of a time, because I can assure you that if it was an hour of gameplay doing something that I actually enjoyed, I would not have a problem with that, and I would feel those minutes just melt away.
Yeah.
That's not the case here. The fact that I played the 10-minute quarter mode, the short mode, and still felt every second crawling by was all I really needed to know. Because the clock in the game might be running really fast. It's definitely not 10 minutes or whatever. It feels more like maybe 8 or something like that. But, oh my lord, does everything else about the game move slow? You might as well be playing on like a mud field or something. Everybody is slow all the time.
Yeah, I noticed that too about the clock. It seemed to run slightly fast, maybe, I don't know, just slightly faster than it should have, which confused me. I didn't understand why they would do that. Maybe to speed up gameplay, quote unquote, but then I don't know why they wouldn't just make the times shorter. You don't have to keep with the actual time limit that actual football games are.
It's probably easier to just genericize in that way.
Probably.
Like, I know what you mean. Like, why does it seem so incongruous? It's probably easier to just genericize in the time units that people are like accustomed to. You know what I mean?
I could see that. Yeah. And, there are some things, you don't have like a play clock. The clock doesn't continue between different downs and stuff like that. So you don't have kind of the real football clock going on.
Yeah.
When you're picking your plays, the clock stops. So a little bit different than, I guess, quote unquote, real life. All of that was a little weird to me, but yeah, you're exactly correct. The running in the game seemed sluggish. And I don't know if it was potentially for performance, game performance or something like that, but it felt like it could have been, probably 50% faster and been a lot more fun to play.
So did you, in anywhere that you were doing research for this game, or just like ancillary information gathering, did you see that the only differentiations between the different teams that you can play as is that some of them are faster? I don't know which ones. I didn't look up to see like what the actual differences were, but apparently, yes, all of the NFL teams at that time, including the ones that still retain their era appropriate names, they don't have like stat spreads or anything. They're just there. It's just a list of names. But apparently, from what I read, some of them are faster than others. So I really wonder if that might have contributed to why it felt like everything else was going so slow and why I couldn't ever catch up to the enemy players to try and tackle them or anything, because maybe I had picked a team that was just coded to be really slow and a team that I was playing against that was coded to be really fast. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. I did see that. I saw that it was like very slight differences in speed, so I kind of ruled it out.
Sure.
I did play as the Broncos, which in that season went to the Super Bowl, so theoretically would have been one of the better teams.
Yeah. Sure.
Again, I couldn't find any definitive, I guess, information on that. I did watch a few people play. Also, when I played myself, I didn't notice a huge difference. It felt like defense was always faster than offense.
Yeah, it sure did.
But aside from that, I couldn't see a real difference, which that kind of made me sad that there wasn't any sort of stat spread or any sort of difference in the teams at all. It was just the name.
I would have liked it better if there were less teams and they were more differentiated. Like, give me some sort of like all-star or whatever, and they pick like the teams that were most qualified for the Super Bowl that year, like 6 teams that were headed to the Super Bowl the years that they were planning to use or whatever, and like break down their stats, and then I can pick what team based on whether I want to be better at passing or whether I want to be better at tackling or whatever else. Like, even as someone, like I said, even as someone who's not into football in this way, I can still get behind something mechanically sound and interesting like that, but it's just not here. There's no real difference between the teams, not even really their playbooks, I don't think, are different either, although I don't know, I only played as the one team.
All of the plays are in the manual.
Right.
So they should be standard amongst all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, again, it feels like maybe a missed opportunity. Even if you just had maybe 3 or 4 different tiers of teams, you know, like these are the best teams.
Sure.
Or yeah, kind of like you said, these teams are better at defense. These teams are better at offense. You know, something like that. Maybe make the Super Bowl winner for that season, who I think was 49ers, make them, you know, like the best team, and you know, maybe just a few different tiers to make it interesting and make that decision matter, I think would have gone a long way to make the game more fun.
I mean, even volleyball, which only had 4 different teams, still managed to differentiate them by giving one team lower stats, one team higher stats, and then the other 2 teams like a combination of the mixed stats. Like, that was still something, even if you don't necessarily feel it, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have real differentiation, you know, they're not like doing special moves that the other team doesn't have or anything. It still was something to be like, yes, there is a very noticeable difference between the performance of this team and the performance of these other teams. And whether that like is right to do, you know, because of how the teams operate, you know, it was kind of weird in volleyball for it to be like, yes, the team from this country is the weakest.
Yeah.
But like mechanically, I understand a tiered ability system in that way. So it's just really weird that it's not here in any kind of noticeable manner.
Yeah.
One of the only real positives, the real interesting things that I think the game did is when you are on offense and your QB is getting ready to throw to either of your wide receivers, and it shows you have an A and a B, and whichever one you want to throw to is just that button. If you want to throw it to wide receiver A, you press A button. If you want to throw it to B, you press the B button. And that was very simple. I liked that it kind of was almost like you were trying to get them in the crosshair of the button, like it was going to show you where the ball was approximately going to go. And then after you threw the ball, it would swap over control to that player so that you could then attempt to catch the ball. That felt pretty good. I was never really successful at catching the ball. The computer seemed a lot better at getting in my way, and I ended up in a lot of like turnovers and stuff. But mechanically, I liked how they implemented that.
I would agree with that. I think that is, you know, it's a pretty intuitive method. When you're looking at the playbook, it shows kind of which one's A, which one's B. It shows the route they're going to run. And yeah, I think that's a pretty intuitive way of doing it. I agree with you. I don't think I threw a single pass for positive yardage that wasn't intercepted. So, you know, I can't say that I did too well with it, but I do feel like the mechanics there were sound. I just was probably missing something about it, which kind of makes me wish there was a practice mode or something along those lines, because once you throw an interception, you have to wait until you're on offense again to kind of try again. So very slow learning as far as that's concerned, because if you make a mistake, there's a pretty long wait time.
Yeah, and it is very easy to make mistakes and not even realize like the optimal thing that you should be doing, because ostensibly, if you are a big time football head and you know plays in the playbook, especially like of this time, and you understand, team stats. So maybe you sort of how you did, Jeff, when you were like, oh yeah, this team went to the Super Bowl, so they maybe have good stats. Okay, you can kind of gamify it in that way. So you should be able to come to this game and attempt to play good football and route your opponents out, catch the ball when they throw it, not really suffer many turnovers, that sort of thing. But I don't really think that that's super possible here. I have a feeling, and obviously I don't know because I didn't do very well, and I'm not going to return to play the game over and over again to find out, but it really feels like this is something that you would probably have to learn to manipulate or like cheese rather than actually like apply strategy to. And if that's the case, that really is a shame.
I went through and I watched a few people play.
Sure.
Because, I couldn't be bothered to go back and play more of it because I didn't have a whole lot of fun playing it. And I also didn't feel like...
Who could blame you?
Again, I felt like I was missing something. I felt like I was missing something on offense that was fundamentally hurting me. So I wanted to see what other people were doing. And it looked like they ran, similar plays, maybe one. Well, I guess you only have 6 options, so I guess maybe that's part of it. But
right,
it looked like they ran pretty much like the same 1 or 2 plays every time, throwing to the same person kind of every time, and so it did kind of seem solved almost in that way. And I don't know. To your point, I don't think that's a very fun, very fun gameplay experience, especially if you don't really have the opportunity to practice and kind of try out different things without it being so, I guess, hurting so badly when, you throw an interception and then you have to wait another, 5 minutes before you can be on offense again.
Unpleasant. I don't think I have a whole lot else to say about this one mechanically.
The only other thing I had to say is I felt like defense was much more intuitive to me, and I feel like I did a better job on the defense side. The one thing that I didn't really like is that you couldn't switch your players, so it always kind of gave you a player kind of in the center, and I kind of wish you could have switched which was your active player, so that way you could maybe like try to rush, and then if that doesn't work out, you can go back, switch to another player who's further in the backfield to actually be able to try to defend a throw or something.
That is a recurring problem that we have had with these sports games that that simulate team play. Like, instead of giving you one person that you are like taking control of and doing that part of the game, the ones that give you control of like the whole team, whether that's a team of 2 or a team of 10 or whatever, all of them, when they give you automated control of like the closest unit or whatever, they never give you a way to manually shift control, and it always feels bad. It's one of the things that we say every time, is that I wish that they made it so you could take manual control, because they don't always give you the best player for, any given situation. And sometimes they give you an actively bad player in a bad position, and it harms you and makes the experience bad. So even just mapping, like the select button or whatever, to make it so you can rotate through your available players, that would still be something, because at least then, if they give you someone who's on the opposite end of the field from where you need to be, you can just mash the button a couple times and hopefully get a player that's closer, because I can assure you that would still be faster, even if it took you 3 or 4 presses of the button to get the right player, than trying to cross the field to get one player from left to right side of the screen or whatever.
Yeah. I will say, I think they did a better job with this game because, yeah, it didn't switch between players. So you never had kind of that awkwardness of it switching at a weird time or switching to a character that a player that is in a bad spot. But there were definitely times when, yeah, I would be trying to rush the quarterback. They would throw the ball and I would be now just watching the NPCs play together because I'm so far away that I can't do anything. And that's also not necessarily a good place to be in. So I will say it didn't feel horrible like some of the other ones where it tried to guess which player you wanted to be, but it also didn't feel good in any way. And I feel like it would have been pretty easy to make, the B button or select, like you said, toggle through the different players. But I don't know. I'm interested to see when we see that and when we see kind of this genre evolve into kind of to have some of those features that we know today.
We have only seen this game as far as football games go, but mechanically, I think that it's going to be either games like this, where they try to give you control of the team, the whole team, and it's going to just be varying degrees of employing strategy through like playbooks or team control or whatever else. Or it's going to be something more arcade based, where they are going to remove the team aspect and they're going to give you control of like one player in a specific position doing something, or even though there is a whole team of players that you have to worry about, you're only going to be controlling one in more of like an arcade score chaser kind of way. I feel like it's going to go down those two paths as the football games keep coming.
I could see that. I think we're done with the mechanics for this one.
Yep.
So let's talk creative after a little bit of an ad break.
Ad break. It's got to sound at least kinda official.
Always. You can start whenever.
Okay. Here at Critical DMG, we primarily focus on the Game Boy's past, but we also love to support the Game Boy games of here and now. And there's enough of them around these days that finding ones you'd like to play and getting them into your hands can be a little frustrating.
That's where Playtiles come in. Playtiles are tiny, portable gamepads that you stick right onto your smartphone's touchscreen. It temporarily transforms your phone into a portable gaming console, with heaps of curated indie releases at your fingertips. No cables or batteries required.
Focusing on an ecosystem of supporting and promoting homebrew games, you'll receive new titles to play each week as part of Playtiles' seasonal mixtape, all of which are yours to keep and were developed by independent creators paid for adding them to the Playtiles catalog.
Pre-orders for Playtiles are open now. You can reserve yours, as well as learn more about how they work at Get Playtiles. That's GET.PLAYTIL.ES.
Cool.
I think they'll like that.
You know, I'm pretty sure that Playtiles would work with any touchscreen surface similar to your phone.
You think so?
As soon as I get my hands on one, my Vita and I are gonna find out.
Shoot, I think the mic's still on.
What? Oh. And we're back. I have so few notes on the aesthetics of this game because there's just not really a whole lot going on. I mean, once the players are on the field, they all pretty much look the same. There's not a lot of room on the screen for anything other than like the actual player action that's happening at the time. So there's really nothing like cute or interesting to look at. And then when you aren't watching the player action on screen, it's just playbooks, which are just like facts and figures and stuff inside, these little flip pages that you can look at. But like, this is maybe like barren by design, but wow, there's just really not a lot to say.
Yeah, I agree. There no music on the title screen again, which I feel is maybe a little bit of a miss because the NFL does have recognizable jingles. So
sure,
maybe a little bit something that they could have added. I think the music in game was fine, but it's whatever. And similar to how it doesn't matter what team you pick, same thing here. It doesn't matter what team you pick because there's no difference in how they look. There's none of their logos or anything anywhere in the game.
I mean, you get to see their helmets with their logos when the quarter changes over. Like,
do they actually have the logo?
I'm reasonably certain. I will live on air check my footage real fast.
Right, I just did the same thing.
But I am almost positive at the end of the quarter. Oh no, you're right. The helmets do look the same. It's just their names. Wow. My own brain implanted better of this game in its place because it was so bland. Yeah, they don't even have. They could have, instead of the football helmets, they could have just done the team logos.
Yeah, which very easy. You again presumably have them licensed.
Yes,
I would assume it's a package deal. If you're getting NFL,
it depends,
but
not necessarily. Like, we'll get to that a little bit later. But the license that they have here would have allowed them use of the NFL name and logo, and then the team names, and like they could relate them to the cities that they originate from, and the music and things like that as well. It's just not really utilized here. The Game Boy can definitely do better than what is on display here. And I feel like, especially for something like officially licensed like this that has very like well-known logos for the teams and all the different stuff, to have it be missing, that's so below the bar for where we are in the Game Boy's like life cycle. I know it hasn't been that long, but there have been games that have come before this that have done their license better. And so it's really weird to see that they basically did nothing for this game.
100% agreed. Yeah, it really feels like the name only. It does say NFL on the title screen, but aside from that, there's no, it's like the Mario inclusion in baseball. There's really no effort felt like it was put in. None of the kind of recognizable IPs or graphics or things like that seem to have been used. And yeah, it just feels like a real shame that they had all of these things that people really care about. People are very into, their team and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's not there. It's just missing.
And it doesn't even feel like the kind of football game where you can remove yourself from the like manager seat, which is basically what you're doing here. Like, you're like manager and then player alternately, but there's no spectator feeling here. There's never any like commentator. There's no like flavor to anything that's going on. None of the players do any kind of showboating or anything. Nothing. Even when the players are done, like the quarter turns over or whatever, they literally all just kind of like mechanically stand up and like shuffle off the screen.
Yeah.
Like all at one go.
I will say the little ref is kind of cute.
That's true.
He's a little bit of a highlight.
He looks like the Sokoban guy.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, and the hand motions that he does do more or less match what actual refs do. So I did like that. If you score, yeah, I don't know if it's fanfare really. Like you said, it's kind of just like they run off the field, which is at least something, maybe a little bit lacking. There definitely could have been more with that. when the game ends, there's no fanfare either. It just goes to kind of the stat sheet, I guess. So especially considering some of the other games we've played and how they've been able to incorporate just, I don't know, little things that make it feel a little bit more like you're there or feel a little bit better. This was lacking on a lot of that.
Baseball had no license. They weren't basing anyone off of anything other than like some cursory names, pretty much. Like the Mario and Luigi cameos were non-existent, and there was no overarching license or flavor or anything. It was just like, baseball. It's baseball. Here, they had all of the NFL stuff to work with, you know, for the logos and the music and all of the expectations of like watching an NFL football game or like experiencing an NFL football game. All of that stuff is missing, and that makes it even worse because if they were just going to make It's Football the game, then why go through the trouble of having all the NFL stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Why pay for the license?
Yeah, and the teams don't even matter, right? So it could have just been team 1, team 2,
right?
No team selection, because there's no difference in them visually or mechanically. So it seems like a waste of opportunity. Yeah, like you said, why pay for the license if you're going to not really use it?
I'm not even an NFL fan, and I'm mad on everyone else's behalf.
I will say the last, thing I have in this section is I will give it the benefit that it was, I think, very readable, and it was easy to kind of tell what was going on.
Yeah.
So at least for that part, it was, I think, pretty well represented and pretty well illustrated, if you want to say that, even if it was a little bit boring, and they could have added a lot of things to make it, I think, feel better. At least it was clear.
Yeah, like, I don't think that we come into any of these games wanting to just, like, take a hammer to them, in their entirety. And I don't have anything else to say about the aesthetics either, so I'm just going to segue into our wraparound.
All right.
By saying that there's things that I liked here, like we had talked about the mechanics of throwing the ball and how you are picking your receiver, and you talked about actually having a better time on defense than offense and the mechanics there. It's nice that they do have all of the teams available. It just is a shame that they don't do anything with them. So like, I feel like we are, giving this a fair enough shake and trying to really pick at the threads of something that would be there to enjoy. But that doesn't mean that I can recommend it, like, at the end of the day. This one is definitely not worth the batteries. And like I've said with some of the other sports games that we've played, like, I hope that there's a better football game down there, If there's one that does this sort of thing better, I could see myself enjoying it. I don't have an out and out problem with sports games, even if I don't like the sport itself or whatever. So I hope there's a better one of these sometime down the line.
Again, I'm also a no. I don't think it's worth it. I think I'm a little bit higher. I felt like it was close. I felt if there were just a few different things different, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Sure.
Mainly, yeah, if it ran just a little bit faster, I think it would have been a much more fun time playing. But ultimately, as is, I don't really think it is worth it. And if you are a big NFL fan, I feel like it's a bit of a letdown because they don't do much with any of those IPs.
Right. There's not even like the charm of like a time capsule of the NFL in 1990 or whatever. Like nothing is really there that you couldn't see in like any other game from around this same time. Like if you want to see what these teams' names used to be before they updated them for modern times, you can just look at that on Wikipedia or whatever. Like This game doesn't even offer that to be like, oh yeah, oh look at this roster, oh these stats. Like it's not there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. It's quiz time.
I'm a little scared on this one again.
You should be.
I think baseball did not treat me too well. So, maybe the sports games are a little rough on the quizzes, but I am currently sitting at 79%, so just a little bit below 80. Let's see if we can fix that today.
I do want to say that we had a comment on a YouTube video recently from a friend of the show, Tip Top Tomcat, and he wanted to bring to our attention that even though your score as of now is at the range of this 79, we're hovering around, that it still means that you've gotten 4 out of every 5 questions right on average, which is impressive for a test that you don't study for, and B, one that your parents didn't traumatize you about by grounding you for getting less than 80.
Even more so when you think that a non-zero number of these I'm guessing. So,
Exactly. Oh man, I couldn't help it. I saw that and I had to share. Anyway, so let's get this one started. Are you ready for NFL football quiz?
Let's do it.
Question 1. Much to my own dismay, there are still plenty of football games left on the Game Boy for me to struggle my way through. This might be the first one, but it's certainly not the last, and it isn't even the only football game that we'll get for the year 1990. No, we'll be here and back again many more times on this journey, but I want to know exactly how many times. How many total football games are there on the Game Boy? Is it A, 5, B, 11, C, 20, or D, it's only 2, but even that is enough for me?
Ooh, I want to say, because I was curious about this earlier, and I didn't think it was that many, because I looked at our sheet, and I didn't think it was that many. I thought it was more than 2, but I think I'm gonna go 5, because I'm pretty sure it was more than 2, but I don't think it was that many.
It's definitely more than 2. You know the rule for the D answers.
I think I'm gonna go with A, 5.
Incorrect.
Ooh.
It was B, 11.
11?
Yep. As far as I was able to tell, there are 11 total American football games on the original Game Boy. They include 3 years of Madden football, 4 separate NFL licensed games, plus a few singular entries like Bo Jackson 2-in-1. So, like I said earlier, my hope is that they just improve from here.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. And that probably makes sense because I only was looking for actual football. So
right, I had to check because they're not listed as just football. Like you've got football, there's Madden, and then it's just like Madden 95, 96, whatever. There's NFL Quarterback Club, Bo Jackson 2-in-1, play action football. Like there's a lot.
This is one of those cases where prior knowledge actually hurt me because I prior knowledged incorrectly.
You didn't prior enough knowledge.
Yeah.
No, you didn't prior enough of your knowledge.
All right, not a good start, but let's see how the rest goes.
Okay. Question 2. In these early days of sports gaming, the NFL didn't have many licensed games that were directly tied to its name. NFL football on the Game Boy wasn't too far off from the first game to do it, but the actual first NFL-related football game came out all the way back in 1979 on the Intellivision. In this first licensed effort, Mattel obtained the official NFL license and use of its logo to sell the package. But is it true or false that the NFL name and logo were the only things that Mattel used in their football game?
Oh.
You've already seen just how sparse the NFL usage is in some of these games.
So, yeah, I have two thoughts. One, the first two NFL games can't have not used any of the actual, like, teams.
Uh-huh.
But then it feels like it would be so much worse for this game to be as little used if the first game was, like, really had everything. So I'm gonna say true that game also didn't use much of the logos and things.
It is true.
Let's go. That's sad.
Yeah. So they secured the official NFL license for the game, but they didn't include any players or teams or anything else in television's NFL football. The name was on the front and the logo was on the box art, but that was where it stopped. It was only 1979. So, like, fair play to them, I guess. But, like, this was even more bare minimum, I think, than what we had here today.
Yeah. I mean, Konami had another 11 years that they could have figured it out, but...
Right? So disappointing. What's not disappointing is that you got that question right. So, can you keep it up?
Yeah, I still haven't gone 0-4 in a quiz yet, so that's good.
Look at that. Okay, well, let's go for 2 out of 3.
All right.
Question 3. NFL licensing can be split during game development in ways that makes it actually kind of untenable to use anything other than the NFL logo and teams in a game. When the NES game, just called NFL, came out in 1989, it had all of the NFL licensing for things like play formations, official teams, logos, but it was missing something that would usually make a sports game feel more like the season year it simulates. Teams, it had, but player names, it did not. Why was that? A. Tecmo Bowl had the licensing for the NFLPA instead. B. The Players Union didn't want their likenesses in a video game. C. The NFL didn't want players to be included due to royalties. Or D. Player names can be long sometimes and hard to fit on the screen.
A lot of those sound like they could be the answer.
I know.
I am going to say it is the royalties. That makes the most sense. Part of me wants to think that the Players Union wouldn't want them in game, but that doesn't make sense if the players are going to get paid. So I think it's probably royalties because money is what causes everything.
Well, there have definitely been other NFL games that had like licensing use, because this is 10 years after that first NFL game. So like I'm sure that they would have sussed a lot of that out for licensing by then.
Fair. Yeah, I'm going to go with royalties. The NFL did not want to pay royalties.
Incorrect. It was A.
Dang it.
Tecmo had the license for the NFL Players Association, so it was able to use the names for the actual players from the 1987-1988 season. They kind of like mashed the two seasons together for their game. All the better for them in football's first console outing on the NES. And if you were a fan, you'd know the cities the players were supposed to be from anyway, because, you know, they said like San Francisco or whatever. They just couldn't use the team names. And the actual NFL license had gone to LJN's game on the NES, which was just called NFL. And that came out months after this one. So 2 NFL games in the same year on the same console. One of them had the team names and the NFL stuff. One of them had the NFL players and nothing else.
Interesting. Licensing is so fun.
It's wild. That's why I didn't want to say anything in the earlier part of the episode, because it was like, I don't want to give too much away.
All right. Well, yeah, that dropped my percentage a little bit, but let's get me out of the hot seat and go to our listener questions.
So, last week's episode, the Heiankyo Alien question, it was talking about the interview that I had read a translation of from the site Shmuplations, a really cool and interesting place that I found during research for that episode. And the interview was with Mitsutoshi Tabata, who was one of the chief programmers for Heiankyo Alien. And in the interview, he was asked about if Heiankyo Alien was to be remade in the modern day, and this was in 2002 modern day, what would he like to see in a future, like modern reimagining of Heian-kyo Alien. Jeff, did you have any ideas on what that might be?
No, not at all.
It was actually VR. He wanted to see if Heian-kyo Alien came out, in the far future era, when virtual reality was a thing. He wanted to see if a virtual reality version of the game could be made where you could, quote, wander around an actual virtual reality maze. And he goes on to add, quote, something where you could really experience the physical sensation of being eaten by an alien, and where you'd have to really dig and get physically tired from it. And personally, like, I've seen enough people play Minecraft with like haptic suits and VR goggles and stuff on. Like, we're definitely in the realm of possibility for like VR Heian-kyo Alien.
Yeah.
Someone could make that game.
I don't know if I want to have the physical feeling of being eaten by an alien, but I guess we could.
Too immersive.
All right. What is this week's listener question?
Okay. So for NFL football, these games can end up on just about anything sometimes. And an officially licensed NFL game called NFL Football made its way plenty of places in the 80s and 90s. The Game Boy wasn't even the only handheld version that you could find at the time. Something altogether different from the football gameplay that we dealt with here came to a single screen game, also called NFL Football, that came out in 1989. And I want to know what device it was on. Any guesses?
I don't have any guesses this week, but I guess we'll just wait and find out next week what the answer is. Thanks for listening to Critical DMG. If you would like to support us further, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts and maybe recommend us to a friend or anyone else you might know who would like the show. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it. So that brings us to an end of our first dive into football. 1 down, 10 to go. Thanks everyone for listening. Join us next week when we talk about Q-Billion.
Sure.
In my head, I keep thinking that this is like a billiards game.
No.
I don't think it is. In my head, that's what I think it is, but
I own this one on cartridge. It is a puzzle game,
of course.
I will say. But it was not one that on first blush I was able to parse. So I wonder if I'm going to have the same experience coming back to it this time, because I played it a while ago and I don't remember being able to make heads or tails of it. So we'll see.
Interesting. Join us next week and we'll find out.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.